Ciao, darlings. Eugenius here. Joined, joined today by my fellow perfume snob, Christo. Shout out to the wackpack. All right, so we've got Rose Cuir from Jean-Claude Elena. Been a lot of excitement for this for quite a while now, and I was absolutely thrilled. This is one of my, a collaboration between two of my favorites, Jean-Claude Elena and FREDERIC Malle, my favorite niche brand and one of my all-time favorite perfumers.
With some notes that you're particularly fond of in the name.
Absolutely, and those notes, rose and leather. How do you feel about Elena? How do you feel about Malle? How do you feel about rose and leather?
I pretty much echo exactly what you just said. I don't know. I know you're a really, really, really huge fan of Jean-Claude Elena. I think you might hold him in a little more, esteem than me, not to take anything away, but I know you've been really obsessed with him the last couple of years, which is, perfect timing for you. I still think he's fantastic, but, maybe there's a couple others that
definitely not for everybody.
No.
I've heard people say overrated,
Well,
very light, and
that's
watery,
it.
translucent compositions that don't have depth and minimalist, which I think is kind of an insult to him. A minimalist, his depth, his fragrances to me are very emotional and very evocative of just beautiful compositions.
He typically has like very long, in-depth personal stories as to where these fragrances came from, rather than, I wonder what this and this would smell like.
Yeah, and they might not smash you over the head like a designer release you're gonna find in a department store. And that's the thing, like, that's not what perfume is. Not everybody wants to smell your stench. And
I do think it is definitely that people have a hard time with him or don't like him or dismiss a lot of his stuff, like the Hermescence line, because it doesn't project, atomically. With a couple exceptions, it's not super sweet. It's not like you're going to wear, Iris Ukoi and everyone in the room is going to, like, turn their head and notice you. And I think that's kind of where a lot of the criticism comes from. It's not overly complex stuff. It is quite linear, transparent, etc., etc. But I think showing absolute control over linearity and transparency is an absolute artwork in itself. I think it takes a lot to control something from the start to the finish and have it fall exactly where you want to. And I think that's genius.
I think it takes a skilled perfumer to make something very whimsical and lightweight and transparent and airy, and at the same time project an emotion or a story. And I think he's, one of the best at doing this craft. Anyway, let's get into this.
Yeah.
Rose Cuir. So this is what, the fourth rose?
So you mentioned that when we were kind of going over where we were going to hit in this. You mentioned it, and I hadn't really thought of that.
So we've got Portrait of a Lady. We've got Une Rose. We have Lipstick Rose. Am I missing something?
I think just this then, right?
And there's, a lot of the new Orient perfumes which might have rose in them, like Promise and The Night.
Sure.
They're not in the name. I'm sure they're rose soaked in those concentrations, but I think this is the fourth. With Portrait of a Lady doesn't have rose in the name, but everybody knows it's a rose themed perfume.
Yeah. But
did he really need another rose perfume?
Did I need one?
No. Did this line need another rose perfume?
Let's get to that when we analyze notes a little more. I'd like to come back to that. Don't answer it yet. Okay. You'll see why.
Okay. Cuir. Do you want to save that for later too?
No. Let's talk about that. Yes.
It is his first Cuir.
Yeah.
And he chose Jean-Claude Elena, which, in my opinion, has got the second best leather perfume on the market in Cuir d'Ange with Hermescence. So he's obviously he's like he's known to have created a beautiful leather fragrance. He's competent.
See, it's interesting though, because if you said what's a world-class active perfumer who works really well with leather, I never would have said Jean-Claude Elena. But I would admit Cuir d'Ange, it's great, but he's not who I would expect to put together a great leather perfume. If you ask me, that's my opinion. Because Cuir d'Ange is quite new. And I don't think Elena's done anything else quite like Cuir d'Ange before, has
Well, there's only one Cuir d'Ange. There's, how many Cuir d'Anges are there?
No, but I mean, like, he redid Declaration a dozen times. You know what I mean? But Cuir d'Ange, I don't think he really did anything else quite like it, did he?
No.
It doesn't really exist with any other name, with any other house.
A salty floral leather.
Yeah, it's just interesting. And, like, I'm not saying it was a bad choice. It was just an interesting one. For someone to do his first leather, he took someone whose first leather was very recent, but very well done. I have a bottle.
Cuir d'Ange?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, it's a small bottle, but yeah, I've got one.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I like it. I don't think I would call it my second. I'd probably put it a little further down the rung, but I like it. It's a bit sour for me.
I think he made the right choice with going Elena, because Elena's made one of the greatest leathers of all time.
Mm-hmm. And it's modern.
I kind of want to save my opinion for the end. So.
Okay, sure. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, let's get into the scent itself.
Yeah.
Rose, leather, geranium, vetiver, cedar. What do you get?
I get all of that. All of that. So, I sprayed this on my hand for the first time ever. I'd never tried this before until in our live stream, which was like an hour ago. And I just kind of went like, wow. Wow, this is not what I was expecting. Wow. And I was like trying not to like just pour my comments and, opinions and, take guesses at notes. But as soon as because I wanted everyone to watch for this. So as soon as we stopped the video and got out of the truck, I was like, there's tons of mentholated, notes in here. And you're like, yes, there is.
I get the mint.
And he's like, there's geranium, mint, whatever. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I've been kind of waiting to say that.
It's it's got a very small percentage similarity to Geranium Pour Monsieur. I can get that right in the opening. It doesn't last very long.
Okay, so now I've had this on for like an hour or so. I'm going to freshen up with some top notes over here.
Okay, let me tell you what I get.
Okay.
In 1974, Jean-Claude Elena created a perfume for Sisley called Eau De Campagne.
Yeah. And
it is a very green, galbanum, ice-cold perfume. And that is the first thing that struck me was Eau De Campagne.
Yeah. The opening...
It's just green, raw, veiny, very aloof in Jean-Claude Elena's style. And I get more galbanum than geranium. And I don't know if it's just because I've got that... I've got that comparison. Yeah, I definitely get the geranium.
You're probably more familiar with Eau De Campagne than I am, but spraying it on now as you're saying that, it's just green mentholated. I wouldn't say it's like greenery or shrubbery or grass or anything, but it's very much
a sparkly green.
Yeah, it's like fresh mint, almost. I hate to say
I don't like to call it minty either. It's definitely not. Yeah, it's not mojito or minty, but it's
slightly sweet, which we kind of. I don't know.
That's probably where the geranium's coming, is that mint aspect.
But yeah, so it just totally threw me because it's like there's neither rose nor cuir in the opening. I can see maybe a little bit of green rose hidden in there somewhere, some Majesla rose kind of thing, where it's really green. But I don't really pick up rose or cuir here either.
After a few minutes, that greenness turns to tomato leaf for me.
Okay, so dry down.
Which tomato leaf is also in Eau De Campagne.
Yeah, I love tomato leaf. Like, because where I lived out in the country, my parents had all kinds of flowers and gardens and weeds and plants, and I just remember the smell so clearly of tomato leaves and stuff. But the dry down in this is totally cedar, like total cedar.
Okay. So I spray this in the air,
Mm-hmm.
and my first thought is, this is all Jean-Claude Elena. This is more Jean-Claude Elena style than it is Frederic Malle. Like, if I had to say, is it more to which style? To me, it's totally Jean-Claude. And it's got so many Jean-Claude signatures in here. Any fan of Jean-Claude Elena will love this. I get rosy ikebana when I spray this in the air.
Really?
A fruity floral. And black currant's listed in the notes. I can't necessarily pick up black currant, but I can tell there's a lot of fruitiness to this perfume.
I'm kind of getting it right now. It's, yeah, like an indistinct, almost like dried fruit, sweet fruit kind of thing. Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. Very polarizing from opening to dry down, which is un-Jean-Claude Elena-ish, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's very green, very sparkly. It's got a fruit heart, fruity floral, that rose being the floral. And shortly after that, I get this really weird, almost like a petrol leather, like you find in Osmanthus Yunnan.
I don't know that one very well.
I know you've tried Osmanthus.
I've tried it.
We spoke about it years and years and years ago.
I think it was kind of like in the middle rung of the Hermescence for me, like in that I didn't like it, but I didn't dislike it, so it never really stood out to me. I like as Osmanthus notes, actually. It reminds me a lot of like dry tea.
That's right.
But I can't really say much about Osmanthus Yunnan in this comparison.
But those are three that come to mind. Eau De Campagne, Rose Ikebana, Osmanthus Yunnan.
I can say, yeah, for sure the dry down now is very dry, herbally, woody.
Now, as far as queer, it definitely does not get queer.
Not really, not like queer d'ange.
Yeah. Its queer is salty, raw, animalic, possibly barnyardy, birch tar, smoky.
I found queer d'ange to be quite sour. Like maybe that's the white
to me
florals.
Is salty leather, and that's where the queer comes in. It's true in its name.
Mm-hmm.
This is not true to its name. This is not a queer perfume. If you're expecting queer de Russie, queer d'ange, queer panache,
definitely very different.
You're not going to find that.
Definitely not.
You're going to get a little bit of leather aspects in the dry down.
So what would you have called it if you were the creative control and Jean-Claude Elena?
I would have called this Galbanium Geranium.
Galbanium Geranium.
Yeah.
I love it.
Not rose, not queer. I definitely would not have called this queer. I'm actually insulted. I am insulted.
Wow.
That he released his first queer and gave us this. The perfume on its own is absolutely gorgeous. I think it's stunning. I think it's evocative of a lot of things that Elena's done. But I'm not sold on the naming, the branding. I feel like I've been misled and bought into false advertising. And I'm not sure if that's Freddie's fault. Is that the marketing team's fault? Is that Estee Lauder, putting their nose into things?
Getting it because it's trendy.
Yeah, I almost feel like they pulled a Le Labo here by mislabeling their perfume. And I'm disappointed by, the whole... I'm a huge lover of leathers, of queers. The saltier, the dirtier, the drier, the more animalic, the more I love them. This is not.
This is the first time I've heard this, because we intentionally didn't talk about it.
We did not discuss this, no.
Especially you, because you've worn this several times already, and I've never tried it until, like I said, an hour ago. So, yeah, that's you must have been, like, restraining yourself.
Oh, man, I was so pissed, like...
Really?
Yeah, I was fuming. Absolutely fuming. Like, where's the beef,
So what did you expect? What did you expect when the bottle arrived and you were going to spray it on your arm for the first time?
When I heard Frederic Malle, when I heard Jean-Claude Elena, obviously queer d'ange came to mind.
Yeah.
Queer, salty, raw, dirty, animalic, rough, birch tar, smoky leather. I thought, Jesus Christ.
Bottles hopping
Here
off
comes.
the table.
This is going to be the greatest queer collaboration ever. Ever. Fuck no, man. I was extremely disappointed. I was pissed off. And
Wow.
I'm still pissed.
You
know?
really restrained yourself.
Yes.
Because usually as soon as you get something,
no, man, I didn't say a
me.
fucking word. I'm so angry right now, and I don't know who to be angry at. I can't be angry at Jean-Claude because I know he has the skill to create one of the greatest leather perfumes. He's done it. Am I angry at Frederic Malle for misleading us? Am I angry at who? Somebody has to take a blame for this. I want a fucking redo. I want a redo, Freddy. This is fucking unacceptable, man.
Oh man.
Redo.
Oh wow. I don't know what I've gotten myself into here.
You know what? I almost think that he made the wrong choice of perfumer here. I think he should have gone with Bruno Jovanovic, the guy who's done Dries Van Noten, the guy who's done Monsieur.
Yeah.
You know, he smashed those two. Cuir should have been a heavy-handed perfume. Jean-Claude Alain is not a heavy-handed perfumer.
Okay, good point. I hadn't
He's
thought
got
of
a
that.
deft touch. You look at his last release, Music for a While, Lavender and Pineapple.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's loud, and it's brash, and it's heavy.
Yeah.
No, man. Jean-Claude Alain should have done Music for a While with a deft, light-handed touch. That's what Lavender is. This should have been done. This should have been done with, you know, the technical aspect of Music for a While. Loud
or
and
like
brash and
Promise or something like
exactly.
that. Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
I hadn't thought about it in that aspect. You know, I know you're, like I said before, you're really into Jean-Claude Alain at the moment, and Malle, for almost as long as I've known you, has been your top 1, 2, 3 fragrance houses. So yeah, but that's so kind of like I said. I was a bit surprised that they would get Elena, even though Cuir d'Ange is
Man,
an
I was
awesome
so pumped.
scent.
I thought another version of Cuir d'Ange. Or,
Yeah.
You know, it's not that I got anything against Eau De Campagne or Rosie Kibana or Samantha Sinan or any of those, but if you're gonna put Cuir in the name, make it a fucking Cuir perfume.
Yeah.
You know, Dominique Ropio. Okay, we've seen him over and over and over. It's nice to see other perfumers, but, you know, Bourdon or Benign, or he's got a lot of, Maurice Roussel, a lot of heavy-handed perfumers that could have done it. I'd love to see Maurice Roussel have done a Cuir.
You know what? I don't think Malle's really worked with a perfumer that I dislike. Or has he ever released a fragrance? Well, you know, I know he doesn't really release them anymore, but I don't think a fragrance has, other than with the exception of, what is it, Outrageous or whatever. If I only ever tried Outrageous and that was my impression of Frederic Malle, I might be like, I don't know about this house. But I don't think there's anything else that stands alone that would give me a bad impression of the perfumer or the house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything is kind of, maybe it's not my style. Like you mentioned L'Eau d'Hiver before. Not my style, but it's a nice perfume.
It's gorgeous perfume. Angeliques sur le Pluie, gorgeous perfume. Big Adult Concentrate. I love it. I love all of those Jean-Claude Alain's. But this, oh man.
So, okay, so are you saying you don't like it, or you don't like it because of the name?
love the perfume.
Okay.
I love this perfume.
Okay.
But when you say you're going to release a Cuir, you know, be true to the name.
Sure.
You know, be true to your audience. I feel like I've been misled. And there's... Well, let's be real. There isn't a whole lot of, like, a ton of good good leather perfumes. Like, you can... I don't know. I'd be hard-pressed to pick a top 10 leather-based Cuir perfumes.
Okay, true, but that's from a seasoned veteran who understands leather and understands leather notes and understands perfumery. So that's kind of, now that you're kind of putting this in my mind, which leads me to believe that this was just a marketing gimmick by Estee Lauder to push bottles because Cuir
Rose
is
and Cuir
super
sells.
trendy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rose is kind of going out, but leather's probably about the closest or just before, just after its apex, which I think Malle is one of those houses that they either do things ahead of the curve or so far after the curve it's not cool anymore. You know what I mean?
You can't change, you know, the scent of queer. Queer is, you know, it's got to be it's got to be leathery. It's got to be animalic. It's got to have, you know, that spiciness to it. You can't put something in there that smells, you know, a little bit like leather and call it queer.
Well, that's that's
misleading.
The thing. It's never really been done by Malle, so we can't really say if that's the.
You can't put labdanum in it and say, "Oh, that's queer. That's our queer perfume." It's got to be leathery. I know he is ahead of the curve, and he's, you know, he's always progressing, and but this is just not...
it's. I don't think he doesn't have complete creative control anymore. Like, if Estee Lauder says make us a winner, he has to make him a winner.
Well, then the brand is dead.
Well, I don't think Estee Lauder's really well known for reviving or, you know...
But if it was Estee Lauder, they're all about selling bottles.
Yeah.
This is not mass appealing. This is not Montal doing Rose and Cuir. This is not that type of Rose and Cuir.
No.
That is what sells bottles. This, I don't think somebody's going to pick this up and say, oh yeah, it smells... Nobody's going to pick this up and say, yeah, it smells like roses and leather.
No, I don't think they are, but I think people will take interest in the name because it's a Malle leather. It's, you know, got all these names attached to it. I don't know. Just, I would love to know who actually came up with the...
concept?
Well, not necessarily concept, but the name. Because usually you can find an in-depth description of the fragrances by Malle, right? Somewhere, whether it's on the website, whether it's on... You know, they'll even have clips on YouTube where it's like a 2 or 3 minute clip of the perfumer.
There is a clip. They have a clip.
So what did it say about
I know they have
one?
an advertisement and it shows like in the ocean splashing water like against rocks, and it's just like that mist coming out. I'm like, what the hell does that have to do with rose? Yeah, it's all over Instagram.
Man,
and there's another one where a guy's got this leather leash, like he's holding onto this leather leash. All you see is his hand and this leather.
Man,
leash.
I haven't seen that anywhere. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it sounds more like marketing then.
It's definitely marketing, and it's misleading.
Yeah. In which case, Malle himself would have nothing to do with that.
So I wonder what came first, the perfume or the name?
When it was commissioned.
Because I know Thierry Wasser with Guerlain will usually create a perfume separate from marketing, and they'll come up with the branding afterwards.
Yes.
He'll have no idea what the perfume is called.
Yeah.
He'll be given a brief, and then after that, it's out of his hands.
Yeah, I think we'll have to do a bit more research, or you have to do a bit more research if you're going to actually do a full... I think you've kind of given a very strong opinion on here. So are we going to expect a full-length review, or is it 23-minute plus rant?
You know what?
enough?
This is all first impressions. This could all change. You know, next week.
Next week,
month.
it's the greatest queer ever made. But
that's
I know
usually
you,
what
and
happens.
that's what you do.
It's usually perfumes that piss me off end up being true loves of mine.
Santal Royale. I listened to you bitch about that for like 6 months, and then you just sent me a message one day, and you're like, Santal Royale is the greatest fragrance ever made. And like, what the hell are you talking? No, but it's kind of like that. And yeah, so maybe we'll see. So
I want a redo, I want a queer, and I want Bruno Jovanovic to make it. Those are my demands, Freddie. Get the ball rolling.
Man.
I don't know what else to say. Like,
I think you've said it very loud. There's probably police on the way for like a domestic dispute or something at the moment.
All right. Anything else?
I don't know. I totally see where you're getting at with this. This is all new to me. I'd never tried this before, but I totally have to say, there might be some leather or rose hidden somewhere, but between the dry down and the, you know, the opening that's now kind of the mid, I don't really get it. The dry down's very dry, woody, maybe vetiver-y, you know, cedar, and
it's got, I don't know, this leather, like, I don't think I've ever smelled anything like it.
The opening
it's
mid
not
is
a
quite
pure leather.
Now, no, it's not. And if you handed me a card
No, you'd never.
I would
say
never
there's
guess.
leather
I
in
would
it.
never guess. Maybe like the 8th or 9th or 10th note might be leather or rose, but I'd be like, yeah, there's mint, there's geranium, there's cedar, there's vetiver, there's maybe plum or raspberry or, you know, whatever for
It's
the
synthetic
fruitiness.
fruits. You
I
know,
would
there's
list
only so
off-
many fruits that you can pull oils out of. I
Maybe
think black currant is one where you can naturally get oils out
that's
of.
probably why they use it so much, but I don't know. And then, yeah, maybe like 6th or 7th note, I might say rose. Leather, I don't. Maybe in the dry down there's a bit, but this is literally the first time I'm
Get a
smelling
lot of
it.
that tomato leaf, that green, bitter,
In the
tart
opening,
tomato
for sure.
leaf. Yeah.
I get, the opening's very green. The middle, like I've got on now, my arm it's turned into, very sweet, and then the dry down's very dry and woody. That's what I get from my limited experience, but...
Beautiful perfume, misleading, you know, to say the least. So I am a little bit disappointed.
I got
Not a
that
little bit,
idea.
a little bit more.
Yeah, I kind of got that idea.
Especially for, you know, I love this brand, especially for their first queer perfume. Like, I was expecting, you know, something in between Cuir de Russie and Cuir d'Ange, and we're going to have, you know, another beautiful leather
That's
perfume.
kind of what I had in my mind's
And I
eye.
was like, oh, as soon as I smelt it, I was like, oh, really?
Yeah, I was expecting that as well. But see, okay, yes and no. I wasn't, because none of those have rose in them. And rose and leather now are Middle Eastern scents. So I did have kind of an expectation of something along the lines
Thank God this
of the
wasn't
night.
done in that Middle Eastern
Yeah, 'cause
format.
it
You know,
would've been
I'm getting
forgettable.
really sick of that too.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think of the whole Orient collection from Freddie Malle?
The night
Frederic
and...
Malle.
Okay, so I
Yeah,
haven't tried the
like-
night, but Promise is... It's so strong. I've only tried it once, maybe twice, and it was so strong I couldn't enjoy it. It just, like, blew my
one spray
sinuses
is,
out.
like,
It overwhelmed
it's
me.
way enough.
I'd like to try it again. It reminded me a lot of Hamdani from Parfums de Marly, which I
Absolutely.
genuinely enjoy. But it was just so overwhelming. And I you know, I'm glad it wasn't just some overwhelming, nauseating, you know, Middle East. Not that Middle Eastern leather roses are bad, but they're a dime a dozen.
You know what have been
They're hot and, you know, they're the hot topic. They're trendy.
what would have been great if Jean-Claude Elena made this in, you know, the Promise format, in that technical aspect.
Because it's so unlike him.
Yeah, well, he can do it. You know, he's done it before. Declaration is, you know, that very woody, scratchy perfume.
Yeah. Yeah. So
as
it's...
is Cuir d'Ange.
It's not at all. I was either expecting, Cuir de Russie, Cuir d'Ange, or something
It
like...
was shocking,
Promise.
to say the least.
And it's neither of those. Not
Shocking.
even in
This
the
was
middle.
shocking, like, when I smelled it.
Yeah. Yeah, like, again, if I was just handed a card walking through, you know, Holtz, and I didn't know what it was, I would never guess that it was rose or leather.
No.
I probably wouldn't even guess that it was
No.
Frederic Malle. But then
The
Frederic
first thing
Malle
you'd
doesn't
say-
really have some...
It's green.
Yeah.
Green and fruity.
All right, 28-minute first impressions.
They'd expect nothing less from us.
True.
We'll see you guys again soon.
Man, I was not